All right, well, welcome back to another episode of the More Than Outdoors podcast, the podcast where we talk about the people, places, and passions that drive Maine's outdoor recreation economy. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Austin French.
And I'm Sam Andrews.
And we have a breathtaking backdrop for you today. So if you are only on the audio, switch it over to the video. You will get some very tranquil background for this episode. Another great guest coming onto the podcast with a very unique niche. I can definitely say we have not had anyone on the podcast in this particular realm of the outdoor industry. But with that, the location, normally I ask Sam this, but I'm going to pass it over to our guest, Steve, today. So, Steve, where are we?
We are precisely in an undisclosed location on Casco Bay.
Okay,
Ooh.
That's as much as you get.
That's
We're
it.
leaving you with a little lore today.
Little mystery.
But Steve, thank you so much for being able to come on the
Sure.
podcast. Glad we were able to get this all sorted out. For how we like to kind of start every episode is just like, for those in the audience who maybe don't know who you are yet, just who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and then also just like, how did you end up in the outdoor rec industry in the first place? Because we find that everybody's kind of got their own path of how they ended up where they are.
Yeah.
So.
My name is Steve Gauthier. I grew up in West Falmouth, just outside of Portland, on a big old farm. And that's probably how I ended up. I'm jumping to the how'd you get an outdoor recreation. I spent my childhood wandering around the woods on the family farm, and have used that to sort of facilitate a lot of nature in my journey in life to at this certain age of 50-something. I am the sole owner and manager of a company called Resurgam Forestland that started 2022. And we'll dig into what that all looks like. But essentially, we own a few pieces, well, maybe more than a few at this point, maybe 4 pieces around the state for forest land stewardship and a little bit of glampiness, fun outside stuff.
Cool.
I've been really lucky to get to experience 2 of your locations. One we snowshoed into on a snowy day
right.
up in Stacyville, and honestly, it was a beautiful day.
It was ridiculous. Although the guy that we were with, Mike Smith, shout out to Mike, is like a triathlete, and it was a snowy winter. And I think he was just being kind of nice to us because I thought I was going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, we were both just like trudging. Like, snowshoeing is just not easy when there's actually snow and it's not a packed trail.
It was a fun day, but yeah.
Well, and I was glad you were breaking trail for me, so I wasn't dying as much as you were. But that was my first time meeting you, just on the side of the road in Stacyville to go snowshoeing.
Yep.
And man, that view of the Katahdin region is so unmatched. And I'm so fortunate that I get to go back there this summer.
Yep.
Bring in some Colby students there. And then the other location in Flagstaff, that's just another unmatched view of the Bigelows. So you know how to pick the land, and I definitely want to dive into that today.
Well,
that's one part of your background that you didn't really mention.
Oh, that's fair, yeah.
The logging industry.
Yeah,
just,
that's fair.
Being able to read the land, like, you're very good at that. And
yep.
I found that to be really interesting when you said, I can look at a plot of land and I can see its potential before it's there. And maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So I've been a forester. So that came out of the, growing up in West Falmouth, 200 acres, wandering around the woods. I found myself in the forestry profession, have been in the forestry field for 20-something years, 25 plus-ish. Again, another one of my words, plus-ish. Was a consulting forester in and around the Winnipesaukee area, New Hampshire, for a lot of years, and now I work for a company called Landvest. We manage a bunch of land. I'm not involved on the management side, but we also broker a lot of timberland, and strictly timberland, forest land. Whether it's 26 acres on the Crooked River or it's 200,000 acres up north, we're involved in land. So to your point, I've spent a lot of time outdoors, and I can just see the magic. I guess that's the best way to describe it. You get on a particular piece of land and you're like, oh wow, this is special. My brother and I were on a piece in the Ossapees just this week, and it had some magic. So, so that's how I got my ability to look at a piece of land and just listen to a piece of land, watch a piece of land, look at the topography, look at the aspect, all of it, and just sort of say, this is special. So.
Yeah. Well, and you can see that come through in the locations that you have for Resurgam. So talk a little bit about the business. Like what's kind of spurred it in 2022? Like what's the purpose and the goals around it?
Yeah.
For you?
So about 5 years ago, my mom passed away, and we had a family building in Portland that we ended up selling. And so at that time in my life, I didn't need the cash. So I wanted to reinvest the money in something tangible that was going to be meaningful to my 4 adult kids. I could stick it in a mutual fund, and then it gets some money, and then it crashes, and then it gets some more money, and then dad dies and they get a check. So that's not very meaningful. So I said, I know land, so I'm going to invest in something that I can not only perhaps build a something on, but just have experiences with my children. So that's how I landed in buying land. And I engaged with my kids in the process, because I thought, if this is going to ultimately be theirs, I want their input. What's important to you? And so I'm on my cheat sheet here. I gave them a little spreadsheet. Typical dad move. I got 4 kids. I built a little matrix. What's important to you about land? Foraging, sustainable timber harvesting, residential development, mountaintop views, camping, glamping, agriculture, indigenous sort of rights, foraging, I might have said that, wildlife habitat watch. I put all these things in a pot with my kids, and I said, what's important? Number 1, recreation. Number 2, water frontage. Number 3, wildlife. So I used those parameters when I started searching for land, and I said, well, again, this is for my kids, and truth be told, forest management was low on the list, which was all good, So that's how I started finding the right properties, or at least narrowing the search down.
Interesting. That's so fascinating that, like, out of obviously this very anecdotal process that you're working through, like, that ended up being the same results that, like, I know when the Department of Economic and Community Development had done that survey around, like, why are people moving to Maine, and access to outdoor recreation amenities was the top choice, right? Yeah. And it was also, like, the most selected second choice. So it's so funny that, like, you get to see it in sort of this, like, microcosm version versus the, like, much larger state piece. And I think that's, we've talked with so many people at this point, I feel like, just around, like, the culture of Maine and everything that it brings to the table. And so much of that ties back to, like, we have these incredibly, in a lot of ways, untapped areas of our state that recreation can play such a vital role in how we view the value of that land, because I think, unfortunately, there are certain parts of the country that, like, value of the land is solely based off of, like, how many houses can I put on it, like, all that kind of stuff. And so being able to make that a tangible number in some way, shape, or form.
We do a lot of valuation for vocationally, and so we talk about return on investment a lot, right? But what is the experiential return on investment of sitting on the dock at the place that you went to with my son, watching the stars or the smoke from the fire pit or the listening to loons? Priceless. So, and that gets back to your question, like, what do you do with all this stuff? And it's first and foremost for me, it's really a 3-legged stool. It's land stewardship first and foremost. It's a privilege and an honor to have the ability to even steward a piece of land for time. And so it's really important to me to take good care of it. Second part of that is steward people well. And that means people that might come and visit, friends, family, guests, and also the contractors that I work with. I've had some amazing folks that I've worked with and met through our land stewardship, whether they're building roads or putting in septic systems, installing culverts, doing survey work, building gates, all of that. It's really important to me to steward the people and then make a few bucks. I mean, it is an investment, so I want to make a few bucks, but it's bottom on the totem pole for me, So I've created these spaces for people to come and enjoy the outdoors and just allow the magic to happen, that happens everywhere. That's kind of...
It was really fascinating. Because admittedly, like, I hadn't heard of Resurgam until you and I met at the mob scene at Pineland Farms. And and I was just like, I'm listening to you like kind of talk about this concept, and like you are like, I would say, extremely humble in terms of just like the work that you do with it and everything. And so you're like kind of trying to like just play it low key and just blend into the thing. And I like kind of asked you one or two questions, and all of a sudden I was like, well, okay, this is something very different, right? And I knew in that moment, and then like Sam and I talked, and we were like, okay, we got to get Steve on the podcast, because then I found out that like she had the connection with you guys through like Teens and Trails and everything, and I was like, oh, that's a perfect blend. Let's get him on.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I love so much about your spaces that you've created is that it's kind of bridging the gap between like you get to spend time in the outdoors, but you don't need to like dive in. Like it's like an accessible space for somebody who's like not super outdoorsy. Like you said, what was the word? Glamping-ish.
Glamping-ish.
And it's so true where it's like, okay, I can love spending time outside, but I have like a screened in space to like cook my dinner and not have to deal with bugs. Or like I love that you have ramps. Like that's something I wanted to chat about too. Is like how like you've made these spaces accessible to like wheelchair users or people with mobility struggles. And I think that's something that is so valuable that so many places like a hip camp or like a glamping-ish space like wouldn't think about. And what I'm excited about is like bringing Colby students there is like I don't have to necessarily worry about all of the aspects of like backcountry camping.
Right.
I can just show up and be like, there's a solar shower, there's an outhouse, there's a full kitchen we can use, and like a picnic table and cots, and it's just a really nice in between where you're like immersed in nature, but you also have some of those amenities that make you feel really comfortable.
Yeah, that was very intentional because as a forester, I mean, I've been in some just astonishingly beautiful places in Maine, and I think not everyone could get here, wants to get here.
So those are all barriers.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot more than just a physical barrier. It's a financial barrier as well, which again puts finances at the bottom of the puzzle for me. So I was very intentional about thinking about what types of things prevent people from going camping or glamping. Bugs, got to use the potty. Am I going to get attacked by a bear? How do you get there? You know, just a lot of different things that maybe we don't really maybe think about. And then I thought, well, how can you ease into this? You know, I think one of my favorite reviews, and I've had many, was a couple. The husband was like, "Meh, I could go camping," and the you know the woman was kind of like his wife was like a peak bagger, like outdoorsy. Let's roll. And she said, your space created the perfect spot for us to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Like my husband was like, all right, I think I could make that work. There's a couch with a propane fire pit.
Yeah.
And you're over in the kitchen making dinner or vice versa. And we got this cool view and it's screened in. So let's try it. And she said he had a ball.
Yeah.
You know, so it's been very, very intentional. And on the physical accessibility stuff, you guys know Enoch. He's a rock star, Enoch Glidden. And so, like, before I even laid the first 2x6, I called him and I was like, hey, I'm building these things. And from the start, I want to involve you. And so we've had a lot of communication about ramps, and he sent me all sorts of information on, you know, how to do this and entryway here and handles here. And we still actually have some dirt to move this spring to finalize some of those things. But so that's been super helpful. And it gave me eyes when I would go somewhere and I was like, oh, Enoch couldn't go here.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
So, and he was helpful, and he was excited to say, geez, it's great for us to go in and consult and fix stuff on the backside, but even better to do it on the front end.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, yeah, we're going to do this right the first time. So we're going to put a 20-foot ramp or whatever, so we don't have to think about it.
Totally. I would be curious, and like obviously I don't expect you to like give away all of your trade secrets to the millions of people that are going to listen to this episode, but like when you are looking at pieces of land like that, and you're thinking about all the like, what are some of the characteristics you tend to kind of like put at the top of the list for you as you're doing that scoping work?
For me, it's I don't know how to describe it. It's the magic. Like I want it to feel rugged. I want it to feel wild, and I don't want to take away from it. So when I see a property that's full of rocks, or it's got wicked challenging topography, or I'm like, oh, we can work with that, because that's what people. I want a gee whiz factor. Like, you've been to a couple of my spots,
Yeah.
and you walk in, you roll in, you drive in, whatever. You're like, OMG, this is ridiculous. Like, how did they do this? And I'm not looking for the street cred for that.
Yeah.
I want people to look at the land and say, wow, this is amazing. I am in this space, right? It's not just like a cool yurt or a cool container place up on a hilltop with no trees looking at some big view, which is fine. Yeah. I want to immerse in the wilderness. So those are the types of things I look for. The more rugged, the more challenging, the better. And I think I've outdid myself with my most recent purchase in Island Falls.
Oh, is that the undisclosed location?
No, that one's will be fully disclosed.
Oh,
that one is
good.
disclosed.
10 acres, water access only, Island Falls, 850 feet of frontage on the West Branch Mattawamkeag River, abuts town of Island Falls, 7,000 acres that OSI is doing a multiple year trail network thing on.
Hell yeah.
The only way we're going to get absolutely every screw piece of wood out there is on a barge. So I bought a barge. So it's actually like a party boat, 24-foot pontoon boat.
Yeah.
Stripped it all down, and we're going to bring everything up the river. So we have to go into the lake, up the river, 7 miles, and bring every piece of lumber. So,
wow.
But the magic piece. People are going to paddle over there. They're going to kayak, whatever. They're going to come down from town, and they're going to roll in, and they're going to flip the switch, and there's going to be a 250-foot boardwalk that's all lit up. That goes back into this little magical land. So I like challenges, and I like unique spaces.
I think there's something to that too, of the like, you have the awe factor, but then there's also the like the like puzzling moment where I've found myself in that situation before, where you're like, how on earth did these people do this? Like, and that's all part of the experience. Like, I think this is a completely different form of example, but like, I think back to my wife and I went to Europe for our honeymoon, and we skied all throughout Switzerland, Austria, and France. And I remember being in Switzerland at Zermatt, and we end up in this like vestibule like thing that, like, the only way I can describe it is they decided to just take a train, turn it into an elevator, and then just run it straight up through the center of a mountain, and you get off the top, and you're just like out in the middle of the Alps. Wow. And you go like, how long has that thing been here? And how, like, what was the process where the engineer was like, oh yeah, we could do that, and I think that's part of that, like, that mystical magic of like, I can't even process how this thing became here, but now I get to experience it in this place, which is really enriching.
Yeah. The guy that helped me build the Flagstaff, excuse me, not the Stacyville site.
Yeah.
The local guy up there. The first time I met with him, he looked at that site and he's like, "You want to do what? Where? Here?" And I said, "Yeah, you in or not? Because like it's gonna happen. So I could pay you. You can work with me." He's like, "Okay, whatever, bro. Like, let's see what happens." And it did, and we built it. And I told him, I was like, "What kind of obstacles?" This a little bit goes to Enoch's, one of his taglines. There's no obstacles, right? There's challenges, and you got to step up to the plate. And so, yeah, I might be eating my words for Island Falls next year.
Yeah, I can't wait to go to that spot. Yeah, it's kind of like, to me, I feel like when you're trying to cross off the list of like all of the national parks in the world, or like all the 4,000 footers in New Hampshire, I'm like, all the Resurgam Forestland spots. Like, you need to start making patches or something so that I
am
can,
going to have a trifecta award.
Get yourself a passport.
I'd like to say you were going to be.
I know.
Just for
so
visitation.
Close. Yeah.
But for actual people who are staying, there's someone out there in podcast world that will be earning their special award patch trifecta thing this season. We've been to all 3 of the spots.
Well, I have to beat this person if it's not me, because
it's not going to be you. I'm just saying.
Who is it?
I can't tell you.
Oh,
there's all kinds of undisclosed person.
Yeah, undisclosed
like,
person, undisclosed
competition. Because I'm like, I'm so close. I'm really close. I'll be staying in Stacyville. Get over on the ferry
to the undisclosed location.
Yep. Right. So let's explain that a little bit, right? Like, so for the person who's listening, like, how can they utilize your spaces, or eventually multiple spaces? Right now, you just have the one on Hip Camp in Stacyville.
Yep.
So, we've been talking, like, you have multiple, but like, Talk about that.
So intentionally, so Stacyville, I knew when I bought that property, that's a base camp. It's up in the Katahdin region. There's tons to do. And I really wanted to have that be like, out there. The other two properties, for both have to and want to reasons, I keep those pretty close to the vest. And that's why you guys are on my friends and family list intentionally. Those are very, very special properties. And, some of them abut conservation lands. Some of them are very visible. Some of them are very close to our family, like tight family. And so we just didn't want to blow them up.
Yeah.
And so I protect those pretty carefully.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a little speakeasy model. Like, hey, psst, I had this is a great one, Max, who right? We were chatting, and he said, "Yeah, I was on the ferry, the undisclosed ferry, going across the undisclosed area of Casco Bay, and I looked over, and I was like, oh, there's a yellow tent in the woods. That's pretty cool. I wonder whose spot that is." And I quickly went on HipCamp and Tent, all these apps, and I couldn't find out who it was. And he was telling me the story, and I smiled, and I said, "You just met him." He goes, "No way, that's your place?" Yeah. He said, "How do I find it?" I said, "You look me in the eyes and we drink coffee together."
Yeah.
It's the only way you get on the friends and family list. So, so for those out there in podcast world, we got to drink coffee.
Yeah. Call Steve.
Yeah.
Go for a coffee. Go
but
for
again,
a walk in Portland.
It's intentional. I believe my model is dream small. I'm not looking to blow it up. I'm not looking to be Glamp King USA. I want intentional, small, curated, sorry, that's overused, experiences with people I know. And then the people that come through HipCamp, I get to know them, right? And I've got repeat people coming back, and it's been, it's really, really great. And a shout out to HipCamp. Great platform, great community of people who take good care of land, have a conservation ethos. Love them.
Yeah, that's really good to know.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, so I feel like for the perspective of the listener, it's like this could be some inspiration of like how to source land, how to utilize it, how to kind of like create a community around it.
Mm-hmm.
And then also for those who are interested in being up in the Katahdin region, like 30 minutes from Millinocket, an hour to I actually just did some math because I'm gonna go whitewater rafting Penobscot River.
Nice.
So I was like, it's about an hour drive like to the place where we meet up with them.
Yep.
But a half an hour to Millinocket, really close to Penobscot River trails, the new contact station.
Yep. 15 minutes from Nevada Beamer.
Yeah.
They just opened up. They're open up 5 days a week now.
Yeah.
So.
Which that's like an unreal spot. That's on my list of things to check out when we're up there. So there's so much to experience up in that little like area. I mean, not little, big, massive area.
And there's a lot of good juju going up there. There's the Katahdin Collaborative, Tracy, and there's just a lot of energy and a lot of people pushing in specifically to the outdoor recreational space on all fronts. It's great. Yeah, it's a little exits, a few more exits, but you get on 295 in Portland and you just bomb up. You stop in Newport, get some gas and Dunkin' Donuts, and then you keep going. And it's really not that bad.
Yeah, that's going to be one of our stops someday soon. We're going to make it up to Katahdin region and go visit all of our friends up there.
Yeah, Tracy is definitely somebody we want to chat with, and Tracy is actually talking about starting her own podcast. So you will hear about that at some point once that officially launches. She's awesome, and then so many other connections up in the Millinocket region. And it's like, how many can we fit in a day?
Yeah,
you
totally.
could fill a day.
Yeah,
for sure.
We could do
Good
that.
people.
Yeah, I remember one thing that when we were walking your property and you had this like beautiful metal gate, and like I'm curious about your like the access, like allowing people to use your land who are not staying on the property, because especially up north, there's snowmobile trails, ATV trails, and you kind of had like this good policy around it. And I'm curious your perspective on it, on like sharing and creating public land, essentially.
Yeah. Well, going back to the stewardship ethos, it's not my land. I feel very strongly about that. I might have a deed, but it's none of our land. Right? So we have the opportunity to steward a piece of land. And for me, that means sharing. And so there's been so much historical use for a lot of land in Maine, whether it's hunting or trails or this, that, or the other. And when I bought my property, the guy who now works for me was one of the first guys I met. And he looked me right in the eye, and the first thing he said was, "You're going to close the ATV trail?" And I said, "Well, unless someone gives me a reason to close it, no." So I think it's really important because all of those trails and all of that stuff supports the Maine outdoor recreation business model.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're the guy that comes to town, starts shutting this down, closing that off, putting posted signs up, that's not going to help the local economy. Now, again, it's all about wise and good and prudent and responsible use. And if people don't do that, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Stuff gets shut down. So I've always been of the mindset, open access, during hunting season, people wear orange, and we'll put safety zones around any of the structures that we have and stuff. But again, it's just really about sharing what I have the opportunity, what we have the opportunity to steward.
Well, and you had made this nice sign that was like pretty educational too, and like real. Like it was just like, if as you're reading it, you're kind of like, oh, whoever wrote this is pretty cool. But I feel like that's really helpful. Like you're like, I'm just gonna be straightforward. Like this is my property. Be respectful. So then we can keep this open. Don't be a jerk.
Yeah, I kind of more
Don't-
or less said that.
Don't
I
screw
was
it up.
like, this sign's up here. This will be open until it's not.
Yes.
And if it's
exactly.
not, it's because someone didn't read this sign or didn't pay attention. So yeah, I mean, I've tried to be, work with the local folks that have been using the land.
Yeah, and it seems like, I mean, even just that gate I was talking about, like that was so beautifully made, and it was like, yeah, I just hired somebody like from this local region to do it. So it's like you're kind of popping up these locations, but you're also like leaning into like the local economy and the people, like the community that already exists there. And you're like immersing yourself into that because you don't have like roots in those areas.
Right.
So you're just like creating the roots essentially.
My son noted that early on when I first that gate. Hired a local guy. Didn't even know the guy that was going to make the gate, but was working with someone locally on the club.
Yep.
And he said, "Oh yeah, I know. Raymond can build you a gate. He does great work." I'm like, "Awesome. And what's his name? Raymond." I don't know. To write out the check. And I gave him a blank check. I was like, "Fill it in. Let me know." We went to the car. My son is like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, what did you just gave that guy a blank check? How can you trust him?" I said, "How do I know not to trust him?" That's how you build rapport. You give people like you're open, you're trustworthy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just served me well in the small areas that I've worked in. And there's some fantastic people. We may not like think the same, dress the same, talk the same, have the same whatever views, but they're just hardworking people that take pride in what they do.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that built the gate, he'd build me another gate tomorrow. He did fantastic work.
Mm-hmm.
There's other people that had mentioned that, took pride in it. And again, same goes for contractors, excavators, all those kind of people. I just hired a guy or about to hire a guy to shingle a cabin down east who I got contacted from another person I hired. So
You got a
and
good network.
pay your bills on time, respect people, and it's all easy.
Yeah. Yeah, you've definitely leaned into your network, it feels, and
Creative.
especially with Maine
Yeah.
outdoor brands too. Like also I'll pride you on just like your approachability and you're so easy to talk to. Like
It's cool.
I feel like from the get-go meeting you, and I think that is kind of like shown through your work with Resurgam and just like your connections with Maine outdoor brands. So
Yeah, I love shout out to the mob fam. I mean, I love everyone you meet. You're like, "Hey, what's your story? What's your vision? What are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
how can I help you? How can I encourage you?" And then I go overboard, but like, let's collab. I don't know what we'll do, but we'll do something together.
Yeah.
Do you have an event you need to? I need you. An auction. Here, go have a glamping thing. I've done that with a lot of organizations. I did it with Teens to Trails and a couple of other ones, and that's a great way to get people. I mean, it's some market exposure, but it's the teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, you're doing your thing, I'm doing mine. Let's work together.
Mm-hmm.
So
For
yeah.
sure. Well,
Yeah.
and that's something that just continually comes up again and again and again in so many of these episodes. It's just like the idea that when you look at like the outdoor rec economy in Maine as a whole, you have so many people that are just trying to go like, I'm not interested in making my slice of this pie bigger. I am worried about making the entire pie bigger, and I'll get the bang for the buck because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But like we all get connected to this really amazing thing, which is all of our outdoor amenities here in Maine. And so there's something, I don't know. You try to describe that to somebody who isn't here, and they're like, "Oh yeah, cool. Like you're a bunch of outdoorsy people that all like just talk and hang out and go cross country skiing," and you're like, "Well, yeah, but it's a little bit more than that."
Well, I feel like we do kind of embody that in the podcast, and we try to like show that, and it does it naturally without us even trying. Because like people, like Mob, we were just joking about it. We're like, we shout them out every episode because it's just like we're all connected, and like it just shows. Like even through our episodes today, I felt that. So hopefully we kind of give off that the idea of what's being created here in Maine in the outdoor industry. So,
and I think
special.
it's connection. It's connection, not competition.
Yes.
Which is, I think, unique. I don't know if I say it's uniquely Maine, but everyone's rooting for one another.
Yeah.
Like how can we pick you up? How can we lift you up? And it's not about, I want my brand to be bigger than yours. Like that's just not Maine.
Yeah.
That's not the way we do things.
So true.
Well, and one thing I would be curious, and we've started asking this some to a couple of different guests, and like, obviously you all offer a very unique experience in terms of like what the camps can offer and all those kinds of things. But like, how do you describe, like, there seems to be this greater and greater demand for people finding opportunities to like fully immerse themselves in nature. Like it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, like, maybe I live in the Portland area and like I just want to get outside, and so I like start walking on a trail or something like that, and that's great. But it feels like there's more of this trend of like people really going, well, okay, I'm gonna like commit to this thing and fully immerse myself. So as someone who very much so provides an experience in that space, I'm curious about sort of your take on that and just like your engagement with folks that you've had stay at the locations and stuff like that.
I think I just sum it up. We're done. Like we're done with the pace and the drama and the sadness and the brokenness, and we just want to go heal.
Yeah.
I know that sounds cheesy, but like people come to my places, people go full immersion because they're looking for healing and they're looking for renewal. We're all busted in some capacity. And as much as I advocate for good therapy, there's something to be said for walking a beach, for sitting on a mountaintop, for listening to loons, to plug in whatever, right? That nothing else on the planet affords that kind of healing and renewing that nature does. And we live in a state of 17.5 million acres of forest land. And so we got that in spades. Like, you don't have to go too far. But I that was a long answer, but I think that's why people are going in the woods. They just need to be good.
I was just thinking about how I'm enjoying just sitting here and chatting with you guys.
I know,
like
it's so peaceful.
It's so it's just everything's green. The birds are singing. There's like bluebirds flying around us. I'm just like in the sun.
Yeah.
It just feels good to be in the sun.
Because it's supposed to snow this week.
Yeah.
For reals.
No.
Oh yeah, up in the Whites, they're getting dumped.
Oh my gosh! Don't even say
Black
that.
Mountain, New Hampshire, probably open up again.
Yeah,
right.
honestly,
Just for the weekend.
right? They're crazy.
Oh my God. I'm curious. You feel like a gentleman who tends to think about things in a slightly long-term way, right? Like, what opportunities do you kind of see on the horizon? Like whether it's Resurgam Forestland or Maine as a whole. Because I think as we look at the outdoor rec space and how we're trying to best produce products that are going to help people do the things outside, provide the experiences, provide the locations. Like, are there things on the horizon that you see and you're like, oh yeah, that's like, I'm really excited to watch that thing blossom a little bit.
I think there's a balance there's some outdoor activities that are fairly active, right? Like mountain biking's big thing, or dirt, whatever it is, dirt tracks and all that kind of stuff. That's a thing. But I think that there is going to be continued appetite for just the reset downtime. There's nothing wrong with like charge. Hit the peak, go to 50 miles, all that good stuff, because there's an energy level there that's, required. But then there's also downtime. And so I feel like there's more passive opportunities, if that makes sense. I don't know exactly what they might be. And that's not just a plug for clamping and camping and glamping, but wilderness retreats. I'm hosting a wilderness retreat. A bunch of ladies getting together, doing yoga and bowls and massage and listening to the birds. I mean, that didn't feel like it was a thing a few years ago, but like this comes back full circle to why are people going into the woods, So I feel like that's probably a piece of the puzzle moving forward. Yeah. And one thing as I think about, it's kind of related to your question, is, and I brought this up even with some of the mob folks, we have to steward this whole thing well, right? Because we don't want a runaway train. Look what happened with COVID, right? The trails get overrun. The land trusts were freaking out. All the stewards are like, oh my gosh, people are leaving trash everywhere. We can't keep up. This is unsustainable. So when I think about, I would go back to the economy. I always give some pause and thought to like, hey, let's 20 miles an hour is cool. Like, let's just go 20. We don't need to go 60, and be just very intentional and slow about it, because that's part of the stewardship piece.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that they're listening to that, hopefully. And I think it's like also meeting the demand. Like we're like kind of like almost behind because of the movement around COVID. So it's like catching up with that, at least for like trail infrastructure. But yeah, I found that your hip camp, at least on Flagstaff, was so encouraging for me to slow down. And I don't think I've been like that still and chill. Still and chill. That should be your slogan.
I love it. I think the way you put it to me was you were totally blissed out.
Yes.
I was like, oh, that's great. What a review.
Yeah. Yes, I was totally blissed out. I was just like, this is awesome. Not having service, reading. You had like some really interesting books that I really loved looking through, like some poetry, and yeah, it's just really nice. So you've done good. You've done good.
Mother Nature gets the credit. I create the space and let Mother Nature do her thing.
I think a question that might have come up was, what's your favorite part of the design piece?
Yeah.
I love my handles.
Oh, yes.
Right? The wooden handles. I pick up driftwood or interesting branches or whatever, and I use them on door handles or towel racks or whatever, hooks inside the screened-in gazebo. You can hang your wet stuff. So that's one thing that's really fun. It's just a silly little thing, and Bill, my buddy, even knows that. He's like, all right, you can go pick out a handle. I know you don't want me to do it. I'm like, no, that's my thing.
Yeah. Well, you also have really creative names for your locations too. Like, I like that flair to it. What are your three like behind the scenes?
So at Siberia Crossing, which is the Stacyville one on Hip Camp, there's Westerly, which looks at Katahdin to travelers, the entire thing. And I was like, everyone calls it Katahdin. Let's do something different, Westerly. And then the other side is called Travelers, and then the first place I created, sort of the friends and family off-grid kind of thing, was Wildwood. And that was named after a family camp that I never had the opportunity to stay at that was on Moosic-Magunnick.
Oh.
So that dated back to the 40s, so I wanted to call it something that was important to my family. And then my other undisclosed location out here in Casco Bay is called Eider, because it's on a point of land where the eiders are feeding all the time because it's deep. So those are the ones. And then Sandbar, Island Falls, because Mattawamkeag in the indigenous language is sand or gravel bar. And so that's a nod to the history of Mattawamkeag. So, yeah.
Oh, cool. I always thought Wildwood was because of all the Wildwood handles. Like, I thought it was like related to your handles. So I'm glad to learn that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
More to come.
Yeah, more to come.
Lots more. So we do this segment every episode at the end called Voices from the Summit. It's rapid fire questions. Just gives the audience an opportunity to connect with you in a deeper way with some silly, humorous questions at times. So first one to kick it off. Cabin or tent? What's your preference?
Do you need to ask? Tent.
Campfire or wood stove?
Campfire or wood stove in a tent.
Yes, the canvas tent.
Describe the future of Maine's outdoor recreation economy in one word.
Vibrant.
Favorite place in Maine to unplug?
on my dock at the undisclosed location at 4 a.m. drinking coffee, listening to the loons.
Favorite season in the woods?
Fall.
Most rewarding part of building outdoor spaces.
Reviews, when people tell me how much they enjoyed connecting with their people.
What's your ideal like weekend escape?
My people, which would be my wife or my 4 adult kids or all of the above. My journal, a fire, some good food, a couple books, and fall foliage and wood smoke.
Nice.
Well, this one you've already given away. Favorite design element in your space. So
I jumped the gun.
What's another one that you could share?
Aspect. It's not really a design thing, but where does it face?
Smart.
People get excited about a view and they forget that it faces northeast. So, yeah, aspect.
But Maine has like really, I think, always done a really good job of attracting people who are looking for like an escape, a reset, like that reconnection with nature, right? Like we're vacation land. It was always a place for people to be able to have that level of connection. And if you had to kind of boil it down to one or two things, like what do you feel like people are kind of searching for most when they're seeking out those places like Resurgam? Like I know you talked about the healing some a little bit earlier, but is there a deeper dive into that? I don't know.
I think it's the wilderness appeal. You know, I mean, when I started building the business, I called it not Maine glamping, Maine wilderness glamping. And there's something about wild. And I think that book that you're referring to had wilderness in the title.
Yeah.
And there's something uniquely special about the wilderness of Maine. And all 3 of us and people listening have been to those places that are wild. And they don't have to be like 5 hours from Portland, right? Like they can be a little special spot, you know? So I think what people are looking for specifically when they come to Maine for outdoor recreation is some wildness and connectivity to maybe places and spaces and, you know, in their hearts and physically that they've never been.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of that like you know, that sentiment of like the last frontier. Like there are plenty of places in Maine that very much so feel that way, right? It's just like, you know, they haven't been contaminated by human life quite as much, and being able to have that, so that's really cool. Well, that's an episode. And Steve, thank you so much for
that was super fun. Thanks for queuing up this perfect day. Great weather.
We try.
Good. It was supposed to rain all day today.
I know.
We just lucked out.
Yeah. But we will, even though we know that you're not necessarily trying to blow up your spot, we will still make sure that like the social media handles and the website for the hip camp and all that stuff.
Sure.
People can email you to get coffee.
That's right.
Yeah. We'll provide
Become my friend.
Your personal cell phone number will go in the episode description.
Be like, wow, coffee date's coming up. Highly recommend.
Yeah. But we'll make sure that all of that stuff's in the episode description. And you know, for those of you who are listening, if you've listened this far, first off, thank you. You're awesome.
Yes.
I'm so glad that you're still here with us. Because you just got to listen to an amazing conversation with Steve. But also, like, make sure you're liking this video. Make sure you're following or subscribing, depending on whatever platform you're on, or really just follow and subscribe on all of them. Like, even if you only listen to us.
I'm our fangirl.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'll be there to support
get on
you.
it.
I'm on it.
Because we are pushing very hard to get to a really cool milestone with some of our streaming platforms. And so we want your help with that. Plus, as the podcast continues to roll out, I mean, we've been going on this thing for now a little over a year, and so there's some cool developments coming down the pipeline that we want to make sure that you get first notification on, and the only way you can do that is to make sure that you're following so you get those. But with all of that being said, as the sun comes out oh so perfectly, until next time, we'll see you outside.
See you outside.